Hey everyone, welcome. So we'll wait for a couple of minutes, still early. So once we are at 9 o'clock, we'll get started. So guys, please ping in the chat if you can see me properly and hear me properly. Hello Ira, hello Umar, hello Ashutosh, Shubbu. Yeah, Ashutosh, I'm good. How are you? Hi Nurul, hi Chris. So I hope you guys are excited for today's session. This is sort of a must learn, I would say. If you're working in IT industry, you can't ignore Agile and the Jira combination together. So, hi Ranjit, hi Surya, hi Moka, hi Pramod, hi Akshay, hello Shakti, hi Rajesh. Yes, so the whole purpose today for the Jira is to understand how Jira is being used for the Scrum projects. Now, Jira is something which um, is used for multiple different other things as well. For example, defect tracking, test management. So all of that I'll be covering in upcoming sessions, because in one session you can't cover each and everything. So we will be definitely touching base on each of those topics eventually in future tutorials. So we are at 9 o'clock. So let's get started, guys. So let me share my screen and then please confirm once you see my screen. Great. Thanks, Akshay. All right. So let's get started. So welcome everyone for joining today's session. And today's session will be really important and helpful for all of you. Now, if you're working in IT industry, in the IT projects, Scrum framework you have been working, then Jira combination and using Jira for Scrum is something very commonly used nowadays. Jira is such a popular tool that most of the organizations and projects are using it. So you need to understand the correlation. Basically, the first thing is what exactly is Jira, and then why Jira is being used and why is it so popular tool when it comes to the Scrum or Kanban or in the IT industry and development, right? So it's not only for the IT industry, it's basically now used in so many different spheres and so many different other organizations as well. For example, it is used in finance, it is used for the HR departments. So a lot of other use cases and scenarios where Jira is being used as well. Now, this is the framework that we have understood. Now, we have understood about the Scrum framework in the last two live sessions. So if somebody of you who hasn't watched the previous two live sessions, please go through and watch those after this live session so that you understand the Scrum framework first and what exactly Agile is and how Scrum framework works. And now today we are going to see how Jira or how you manage Scrum projects within Jira, right? Now, first thing to understand is whenever you want to learn any of the tool, you need to understand or you need to ask a question, why this particular tool, right? So why Jira and why any tool that you are going to work in a project? So it doesn't matter today it's Jira or there might be some other tool tomorrow, right? But you need to understand what tool does and why it is used in that particular context. Okay. So now if I say why Jira is being used, so what exactly is Jira? Jira is an agile project management tool. Now, when we say agile project management tool, then there are frameworks, and Scrum framework is one of the agile software development framework. So Jira has the built-in capabilities, very effective and flexible capabilities within Jira that have been built that you can use out of the box from Jira to implement the Scrum framework and manage your Scrum framework within Jira, right? So how you are going to manage the process, the work, and the team within your project, you can manage that easily within Jira. So let's quickly go ahead and see what exactly how we are going to get started all of it, right? So simply search for Jira software, right? And I'll be going to the official Jira website and we'll get started from there. Now we'll be starting from very scratch. We'll be signing up for Jira and then seeing what all different steps are to implement the Scrum framework and how this whole framework that you see here sorry, in the other, how this whole framework actually works within Jira. Okay, so how it is all implemented, how you are going to use Jira to achieve your work using this framework. So Jira Software, you can get it for free. So basically, if it is up to 10 users, you can get it free lifetime. So they have made it free. More than 10 users, it's a priced product. There are some of the capabilities that you, if you want to use, then you have to definitely go ahead and purchase. But for small and medium, small enterprise or small companies wherein you just have 5, 6 people or up to 10 people, easily go ahead and use Jira for your projects. Okay. So Jira, in a brief and quick um, sentence, Jira is an agile project management tool, right? So how we are going to sign up? So we'll simply go to get it for free, and you will see that we have selected the Jira software at the moment, right? So the by default we have selected Jira software, and then with the Jira software you can select a second product. So usually any software development organizations, they have Jira software and then the Confluence, which is the document or a document wiki. It is more than a wiki. It's basically a collaboration tool wherein you can create the documentation, share, and a lot of other things, right? So we'll select Confluence because we'll be learning a little bit about the Confluence as well. So Jira and Confluence combination go hand in hand in the projects. So we have selected a second product which is also free, and then simply click on next. So now here, this is, you can see this is free for up to 10 users. More than 10 users, definitely the pricing will occur. Okay. So I'll continue with Google. You can sign up with your email or simply sign up with your Google account. So I'll continue with Google and I'll select my Gmail account there. So it will take the name and the email address. So we'll simply click on create the account. And by the way, this is the Jira cloud version, right? So this is the easiest way to basically sign up and get up and running with Jira. If you are using the data center, that's a bit of tedious setup. So Jira cloud free version is what you should be looking for. Now, once you have signed up, the next thing is you have to provide your site name. So basically your site name is whatever name you will provide. If that name is available, then .atlassian.net will be available for you. So if I'll say RCV Academy, right, then you'll see that this site is already taken because I have already taken it for my main work and I use it for my personal work, to manage my personal work. So I'll simply say RCV Academy Live. This should be available and you'll see the green tick there. Okay. And then click on agree. You don't have to worry about any of the payments, so no credit card will be asked up to 10 users. So you simply can directly sign in. So once the sign up process will begin, so it will ask you to personalize your experience. So basically what exactly you are using it for. So I'll simply select software development and then what's your role. So just QA manager I'll select, and then the tasks. So you can skip these questions, not necessary. So I'll simply click on skip questions as of now. And then the site will basically start up. So it will take some time there. So please bear with me. I just wanted to show you the process so that you can understand how you're going to sign up, and if you are going to learn and practice by yourself or use it for your projects, you can basically follow the same process to sign up and start using Jira. So let it finish, and until then let me go to this framework. So basically this is the framework that we learned, and now within Jira what we are going to do is we are going to basically see how the product backlog is being managed within Jira, how the sprint after sprint planning, how sprint backlog is being managed, or how sprint backlog is being created, then how sprints start, then when the sprint will start, what will happen, what work, how it's going to progress, and then after completion of the sprint, and all of that. Okay, so that will be really important to correlate this whole framework within Jira. So you will understand next time when you start using Jira, you will understand basically how you are going to use it. So I'll simply say experienced, and my team is experienced features. Okay. So you can skip all of this. Okay. So not necessary, but basically these are the questions that it usually asks. So once you sign up, the next thing is it will ask you for the project detail, right? So at the moment you will see the template that is selected is Kanban, right? So now, as I mentioned that within Jira, there are already the templates to manage Kanban, Scrum. So Agile software development framework templates are already there, right? So now we are working with Scrum. So we'll simply change the template and we'll select the Scrum instead of Kanban. All right. So we'll say use this Scrum template. And then you have two types of project here. Let me zoom in a little bit so you guys can see properly. Okay. So there is a team managed project and company managed. So what team managed project is all about is that if you are a single team, right? Or if you want to, within your team, you want to manage the whole project and configurations by yourself, you select the team managed projects. Okay. Because it's a simplified configuration. Anyone on your team can set up and maintain, right? And any changes that you do on the team managed projects won't impact the other projects. But if you select the company managed projects, which is basically you can imagine it as a global sort of configuration. So in this one, what happens is if there is a configuration of the screens or configuration of the workflow, then that change might impact all the projects that are using this company managed, okay, configurations. So that is a Jira administrator task. You do not need to worry about that. For now, we will simply say we are going to use team manage because we need the flexibility to update the project details, right? So I'll simply select a team managed project there, and we will provide the name of the project. Okay. So the first thing we need to do is if we want to start any project, right? So when do we use Scrum? We use Scrum or we use any project management approach when we have to fulfill or when we have to deliver certain product, project, anything, right? So there is a some work items that we want to basically manage and progress those work items in a structural fashion in a process from starting to finish, right? So that's the basic project management. So Scrum does the same. So we have a work backlog, right? And from that work backlog, we are basically picking up some work items and following a particular defined process from start to the completion. So say, for example, this project is for my website, right? So I'll say RCV Academy website development. Okay. So I'll name the training website there and you will see the key automatically has been taken, but you can update it, right? So the first letter of each of the word that you type in there is the key. Now this key is the unique identifier for that particular project, and any issues that you are going to create within this particular project will be having that key against that issue, right? So once we have created or provided the project detail, I'll simply say create project, and then it will ask for some of the tools that you want to connect. So I'll skip that as of now because we don't want to connect any of the tools, external tools at the moment. And then it will ask for inviting your teammates. So you can invite up to your 9 more members because first one is the person that is already signed up. So you can invite other members there, right? So at the moment, I won't invite anyone else. So I'll just simply continue. Right. So now you can see that it's still loading, but we are at the project or at the dashboard, basically at the first project within our new Jira instance. Okay. Now, if you see that at the top, you will see you will have this section for your work. Then we have the project tab there, the filters. Okay. So let me close this. All right. And then we have the dashboards, and then you have, around people and applications. You can install further application, which will understand when we work with Jira or Zephyr or test management, because test management is not available by default within Jira. So we have to install a plugin to or add on within Jira to do the test management. Okay. So now here, if you see that we are having a backlog section here, right? So what this backlog section is all about, if we correlate that with the Scrum. So because in Scrum we had the backlog, right? So the product backlog. So any backlog that is there within that particular product that you are developing or project that you are working on, that can be created within Jira in the backlog area, right? So here we can create the epics and stories, right? So at the moment you will see it is, so the highest level, or the big piece or big user story, you can say, can be is known as an epic. Now, some organizations might have even a different naming convention. So epic, they can say it's a little granular item, and then very high level features, they can say, or they can define a custom issue type within Jira, and they can say it's a feature, because I have seen that in past. So that by default is not available in Jira. Featured issue type is not available. So you can create a custom issue type. So Jira administrators can create custom issue type based on the requirement of the organization. So say for example, my organization doesn't want the epic to be the highest level of the user story, or the work item. So there could be features, and within features there could be multiple epics, and within epics there could be user stories. Okay. So if that hierarchy is being followed in an organization, then there'll be a feature issue type or anything correlated to that feature issue type. Then below that there will be epic, then user stories and things like that. Okay. So if I go through and enable this epic panel, so as of now we are just doing with the epic, right? So epic is the highest level of the work item, or the big piece of work item that needs to be worked on. Okay. Now if I talk about this RCV Academy training website project, so this is basically just hypothetically assume that this is the website, training website, that we are going to develop. Okay. Now there are some of the epics that I'll give you an example, and let me go to docs.google.com, wherein I have some epics and user stories. Okay. So when we say epic, so what exactly is epic in Jira? It's basically the high level or the big chunk of work that needs a further breakdown. All right. So say, for example, if we say portal registration, right? So portal registration is something which is a big piece of work, because portal registration will have multiple granular items there or user stories there. For example, user should be able to register using Google account as well, using their email address as well, as we just saw, right? That with Jira, we were able to register using the Gmail account as well. Also, we can register using the email, right? So that big piece of work, this portal registration or course catalog that you see, is the epic, right? Or it could be a feature if there is a different hierarchy that is being maintained within Jira. So we can say this is an epic. So we'll create an epic, right? So we'll go to Jira and we'll simply say create an epic there. All right. So to create an epic, we'll simply say create epic and provide the description there and hit enter. You'll see the epic got created, right? The next epic is course catalog, right? So I have two epics at the moment. So we'll simply quickly create these two epics. Okay. So now this is how your project will basically start, right? So even if you're working as a tester or anyone in the team, you should know how it all ties up together. Okay. So your product owner and other members of the team would be having the discussion with the customer. They would be getting the requirements, and that's how they'll get the requirement. Okay. In the training website, to the customer, say, for example, I'm the customer. So the development organization, whosoever is the product owner, will be having a close conversation with me. What exactly you want? I want the portal registration functionality there, right? So what all you want in the portal registration functionality? So I'll say I want the registration capability using the Google account, using the Facebook account, using Twitter account, and using the email, right? So that's the high level epic. So he'll make a note of it, or whosoever is the product owner, they'll make a note of it. And then these questions, that this conversation then clarifies and basically whenever I articulate all the requirements and details, that is how the epics and user stories are being articulated and written, right? So the next functionality is course catalog. I want the capability of the course catalog, right? So now within that epic, there will be user stories that will be elaborated by the product owner or somebody who will be helping product owner, but product owner will be sort of owning those details, or will be getting the first hand information from the customer, right? So from the portal registration functionality, we have some user stories, right? So now the person who is managing the project, they'll go into the project registration, right? And then they can create the issues there, right? So if we go a little bit down here, so if I select this portal registration, then I can simply create the issues. And you'll see that as soon as we created this particular project, there is a sprint one already there. All right. And we'll try to understand the sprint as well. So if I create an issue here, okay, I can create the issue in the backlog, which is the product backlog, right? And then move it to the sprint, because there'll be a big sort of backlog for the complete product roadmap, whatever needs to be developed. And then from that backlog, as per the priority defined by the product owner, we'll be pulling those details into the sprint, right? So there will be items created into the product backlog. So this here, if you'll see the drop down, at the moment, this is story, right? So we'll simply create a story there. All right, so hit enter and you'll see the story got created. Okay, and because we have selected the portal registration and then created the story there, you will see that this link of portal registration epic has already been created. Okay, so let me quickly go ahead and create all of these user stories. That's how somebody will be actually, most probably your product owner or a scrum master would be doing it this way, right? So they'll be populating the product backlog, and that's how the product backlog will evolve. Okay, now for course catalog, we'll select course catalog. Okay, and then create the issue. So deselect the portal registration, select the course catalog. All right, and I'll select the stories for the course catalog, create those. So you'll see course catalog has been tagged as an epic for this user story. If you're working as a developer or as a tester, you would not be having this, what exactly goes behind, right? You, as a developer or tester within the project, you would be just having a view of this backlog items there, right? That there are backlog items that are being defined that we need to work on, right? So this whole process is now you are able to grasp that how actually it works, right? So customer will articulate the requirement to product owner, he'll come up with the epics, user stories, and then these will be added by someone within Jira. Okay, so now if you'll see, let me close this. And now if you'll see, if I deselect, you will see these are the user stories in the backlog, right? So these are the user stories in the backlog that have been created. All right, 10 user stories that you can see. Sorry, 8. So 2 are the epics. Now, if we go to the diagram here, so we have created the product backlog in Jira, right? Product backlog is nothing, the requirements, the work that we need to do or to develop a software, right? Because this is the training portal that we are sort of developing, the example that we have taken. So the work that is required, and this is just a basic, we have just taken 2 epics, Ideally, there'll be so many epics and so many user stories, right? But that's how the product backlog will be created. Now, the next thing is what will happen next, right? So once the product backlog has been created as part of this Scrum framework, we have understood that the next thing is once the work will actually start, then the prior to that, there needs to be some sort of refined user stories to be present with all of the details required, right? So which will be at the top, right? So if we go to Jira here, so anything that you see here in the product backlog, anything at the top is considered that yes, this is basically refined, right? If it is not refined, the product owner will basically change the order of this backlog. Okay, so this ordering is important. So for example, this number 4 issue is not refined, but this 8 is refined, right, and is at the high priority. So the product owner will say you need to pick this first, and then 6, 7, and then basically 4, right? So this is the prioritized order. And within this story, these are the very minimal details that I have put in there. But ideally in the projects, you will be having a lot of information within these user stories. Not only this detail, but in the description, you will have the acceptance criterias, what all acceptance criterias are required when we say this story is done, right? So all of those details will be there. Mostly the stories will be written into the acceptance criteria will be written into given when then format. Okay, and then there'll be a lot of other details, for example the labels, etc., will be also added. Okay, so once this is basically done, this priority has been defined by the product owner. The next step is basically to make sure that we do the sprint planning, right? So that was the next step. So after sprint planning, the team will pick the prioritized item and refined items that are at the top and will pick and create the sprint backlog, right? So now, say for example, these 4 items are ready to be picked. Okay. Now, within the sprint planning, the team will come together, development team, Scrum Master, product owner, they'll have the discussion, and you'll see that this is the sprint. So what they'll do is, yes, this is the priority. So we'll simply drag and drop and pick these items in the sprint. Okay. Say for example, we have the capacity to pick these 3 items from the product backlog. So these 3 items will be picked. These 3 stories will be picked into the sprint planning. Any details that are required will be discussed within that sprint planning. Then the estimation will be done. So once the estimation will be done, which is basically the poker planning, then they will assign the story points here. Say for example, this is the 8 story points, right? So 8 story points will be assigned there. Then there is the another one for which, say for example, this is 5 story points, right? So that's how the assignment will done. Any more details that are required will be basically also added in terms of in either in description or in comments, right? So let me add points here as well. So you'll see that all the points have been added. Now you will see this is one of the sprint. This is RATW. Now you can edit, basically you can edit the dates. So by default, it has taken some dates, which is 2 weeks, right? And we can specify the specific dates for the sprint. Okay, so at the moment I'll just leave it as is. And once the sprint planning has been complete, every detail that is required for these user stories to be completed is there. Then the scrum master will start the sprint. Okay, so what they'll say is, yes, so from today we have done, so say for example your starting day of the sprint is Monday. So from Monday to Friday, 2 weeks. So Monday, after the sprint planning has happened, all the details have gone in within Jira, and also all the details. So for example, there needs to be subtasking to be done, right? So this is still a big piece of work. There will still be need to put the granular task there. So what the team will do is they will also add the, sorry, not here. Um, Let me open the new tab. So within the story, you need to add the subtasks. So for example, this is the development tasks. So you can say add a child issue. Okay. So here, if we say add a child issue, then what needs to be done, right? So we can say, sorry, what needs to be done in this particular issue. So I'll say task, just something, subtask one, right? And then subtask for testing, right? Because somebody will be testing it as well. And then there will be subtask for documentation if some documentation is required, right? Something like that. The task or a granular information will be added and then tasks will be created. Okay. Once every detail has been put into the user stories, then the Scrum Master, after the sprint planning has complete, they'll start the sprint. Okay. So once the sprint will start, you will see 3 issues will be included in the sprint, and this is the start date and end date. I'll keep it as is, but ideally whatever start date and end date will be there, that will be updated for the project. And then sprint goal, you can see that here we have started, but I haven't added sprint goal, but that's what the sprint goal will all about, right? So sprint goal is important, which is basically what we discussed. So in sprint backlog, we have added items. Then before starting the sprint goal will be added and sprint got started. So now we are in this section, right? So as part of the process, now the Scrum team will start working on those work items. Okay. So if we go back here, you will see now we are having these 3 issues there. Okay. 3 user stories on the board, right? So these are to do. Now, this is the board that is available, and this is what the Scrum board or visualization within the Scrum, because transparency is one of the key things within Scrum. So this work needs to be visible to everyone, right? So this is where the board is required, and this is the board that everyone can go ahead and see how things are progressing in this particular project, right? You will see that since we have started the sprint, it says 9 days remaining. Okay. Now once the team will start working, they will start moving the work items from start to finish. Okay. So if I, okay, this is the filter. um, so say for example, this is being picked up with someone, right? So this is not at the moment assigned to someone. So if I'll say assigned to me, so you'll see now since I am the assignee, then we can basically go ahead and start working. So whosoever is the assignee, so say for example, there will be some task for testing, some task for documentation. So could be multiple people working on the same story, right? So if this is the documentation that I'm doing, so I'll basically go ahead and this has been assigned to me. And then once the documentation has been done, we will simply go ahead and complete it, right? So we'll say once we start working, we'll move this task to in progress. Once the work has been done, then we'll move it to done. Okay, change it to done and put the comment there, right? So putting a comment information details is important. So we'll say this task is completed, not just this comment, but a brief detail which shows basically what has been done, right? Now once the work progresses, everything has been done. Okay, so if we go to the board, so if we go to the project here, and once all these stories get done, right, which is usually like the 2 weeks process. So this work will be basically continuously done. The daily stand-ups will happen as we have seen here. So every day there will be daily stand-up. People will be um, providing the details what they have worked yesterday, what they are working today, if there are any blockers on these 3 user stories that have been picked as part of the sprint. After the sprint is over, these stories will be basically ready to be shipped, or basically as part of the increment, right? So it will be a working something which can be showcased or demo, right? So these user stories that you see, this should be then basically move to done, right? So if everything is being done, then the team will move all of these to done. Okay, once the sprint gets over. Okay, so everything is done and the sprint will get completed. After completion of the sprint, the sprint review will happen, right? And in sprint review, the showcase will happen. So in the showcase, the team will basically, depending on the application, so because this is the training portal application, so they'll say I had a requirement to access the training portal in a different number of browsers, so it should be available on Firefox, Edge, Chrome. So say for example, they have built the portal registration functionality with Google sign in at the moment, so they'll launch the application and they'll try to sign in using the Google sign in, right? And once that showcase has happened, then the team will come together to have a sprint retrospective. What went well, what didn't went well, what are the improvements that are required to go ahead and do in the sprint in future sprints, right? So once all of that has been done, then the next sprint will get started, right? So basically, once everything is done, Scrum Master will complete the sprint, right? And then the next sprint will start. Okay, so next sprint planning, and then they'll pick more items from the backlog for the next sprint, right? So in the backlog, you will see that from the backlog, you will see that now these work items have been done, right? And this is not complete yet, but Scrum Master will complete. Once everything has been completed there, then the Scrum Master will again go back and create a next sprint, right? So they'll create a next sprint. You will see that automatically sprint 2 has been created. And again, the same process until all the work items that are there in the backlog are being completed, right? So based on the priority, the new items will be pulled in sprint 2. In the sprint planning, more details will be discussed, elaborated, next sprint will start, and this process will go on until all the backlog items have been completed. All right. So you can see how easy it is to basically manage Scrum within Jira. So Jira Scrum template is basically correlating each and every step within the Scrum framework very efficiently, right? So product backlog, sprint planning, this is a meeting. So after sprint planning, there'll be a sprint backlog, which goes to the sprint backlog we have seen in Jira. Then we have when we started the sprint, the work will be managed within the Scrum board, right? So the board will be visible and team will move the work items as they complete there. Once uh, the work has been completed, then there'll be a sprint review, which is basically a meeting, and then the retrospective. Now, why do we have Confluence together and Jira and Confluence used very closely? Now, every meeting, so for example, sprint planning, sprint review, sprint retrospective, all of these templates are there within Confluence, right? So when we are doing the retrospective, we can do within the Confluence, or we can maintain all of the documentation within Confluence, and that will be easily available within Jira. So that is why Jira and Confluence are used hand in hand in most of the projects, right? So if you're using Jira, you will definitely go ahead and use Confluence as well, because they are integrated so well that for any documentation needs, collaboration within the team and organization, for the documentation and project data and details, you use Confluence. And for the Scrum or any agile development framework, you use Jira. Okay. So that's briefly how you are going to manage the Scrum within Jira. And I hope this was all helpful and you were able to follow along. Now we can go ahead and you can ask questions if you have any. Guys, can you hear me? Bharu mentioned that they can't hear me. Any questions? You guys can ask the questions now. Okay, great. I thought I had been talking for a while and you guys can't hear, so that would have been really. Uh, Okay, let's take some of the questions. Okay, there is a question from KM. Jira is a test management tool. No, Jira is not a test management tool. So Jira is an agile project management tool wherein test management can be easily achieved within Jira using the external plugins. Okay, so Zephyr is there, X-ray is there. These are two very popular ones, but then there are so many other test management plugins as well, which we can easily install within Jira in the Jira app management section and achieve the test management functionality. But Jira is an agile project management tool. Thank you, Wahida. Thank you very much. Thank you, Leo. There is another question. As a tester and as a dev, how select assignee? All right. So, Ranjit, so as a developer, right? So basically the assignee in the first hand won't be done by either the developer, okay, or the tester. So first, in the initial sprint planning phase itself, because the whole team is there, so it's not that somebody is within, just one person is there who is assigning all of these tasks and stories to someone, because the whole team is there within sprint planning. So within sprint planning session itself, whosoever is working on a particular work item or having an expertise in one particular item, say for example there is a database development story, so if there is a person who is working on database, that will be assigned to that person. Okay, once that is done, then that development work is done, then the developer will then assign it for testing to someone who can test it. All right, so that happens during the process, but initially the whole team is there and the stories are being discussed, and whosoever can work on those stories, those developers are being assigned those stories, and then any test related tasks, for example documentation and other stuff, is assigned to the testers within that sprint planning meeting itself. Okay, all right, so there is a, what is velocity and burn down chart? Okay, so Manthan. All right. So velocity. So basically, to understand velocity, you need to understand. So there is a confusion around the capacity and velocity as well. So let me cover capacity as well. So capacity is what your team actual has in terms of capacity. So for example, we usually the figure that is maintained is that if there are 5 people, okay, in a team, you consider 8 hours or 8 story points per person. Okay, if there are no public holidays and no leaves, so say for example they are working 10 days in a row, okay, in 2 week sprint they are actually working 10 days. Why 8 story points? Is because 20% is being um, removed for the meetings and other coordination activities. So that's the capacity, right? So 5 people, there will be 40 story points. That's the capacity. Now once the sprint planning happens, they will assign the user stories to the team, and if the user story has been reached as 40, so basically the team capacity has been reached, right? So we assign the story points, right? Now we can take, with 5 member team, we can take 40 story points. Now once the sprint starts, okay, so after starting the sprint, once the sprint finished, how many story points actually got completed? So it's not necessary that out of 40 story points, 40 would definitely be completed. It may be possible that only 35 got completed. Okay. So in first sprint, 35 got completed, in next sprint, 40 got completed, right? So whatever is being completed as part of those sprints, that's what the velocity is, and you average out the velocity. So basically you average that out, the completion ratio, completion rate of these user stories in different sprints, and that's what the velocity will be, the actual velocity of the team, right? And when we say burn down chart, the burn down chart is basically once the sprint starts, okay, so after starting the sprint, how, or every day whether Jira hygiene is maintained. If the Jira hygiene will be maintained, so every day, if your subtask is being done properly, so that you have it at a granular level, which you can complete in a day, right? Or in few hours, not more than a day. So you will be closing that, or you will be moving that to done. So as soon as you will move it to done, that will be reduced from the total number of points. So basically that burn down chart, I'll show that. Maybe what I'll do is I'll simply get that into the Jira. Okay, so that gets more clear. um, Let me go to insights. Okay, you see here, right? So you can see that this is what the sprint burn down is, right? So we took 21 story points, okay, and then say for example next day, right? This is 10 days sprint, right? So this is the timeline that you see. Oh, sorry, I need to share my screen. Sorry, guys. I'm just talking and not sharing the screen. Let me share again. Okay, guys, I hope you can see the screen now. All right, so this is the sprint burn down, right? So you can see that we took 21 story points here. So this is the timeline. So this was the sprint timeline. Now we took 21 story points. So when the team will start working, they'll start completing the work, right? So if tomorrow they completed 3 story points, so they'll complete that. So out of 21 only, so from 27 to 28, only 18 points will remain, right? Then next day they completed 2 more points. Somebody completed 2 more points. So 16 will remain. So this burning down of the work that is being done within the sprint is represented as the burn down or sprint burn down chart, right? So eventually by the end of sprint, you should be burning all the story points or completing all the story points that you have taken out of 21. By 11 July, all of these 21 points should be done. Okay, so that's what the sprint burn down is, or burn down is. So you can use it for sprint, or you can use it for the complete project. All right, so let's go back. All right. Okay, Wahida, is Kira a task management tool for Agile ceremony? I think I have heard about Kira, Wahida, but I haven't explored. Ah, sorry, you meant Jira. Okay. I think there is something for Kira as well, but yeah. So Jira, a task management tool. You can say, I mean, yes, it's an agile. It's not just a task management tool. It's a complete agile project management tool. So. Uh, and it's highly customizable as per the organization. You can customize the Jira workflow, you can customize the defect workflow, you can manage defects within Jira. So a lot of things can be done. It's not just a task management tool for Agile ceremony. Okay, it's basically the whole Agile project management, whether you use Scrum framework, whether you use Kanban framework, it's for all of it. Okay. All right, Leo Messi, why is Jira so popular? Jira is so popular because it's really powerful tool. I mean, I am a certified Jira project administrator and have been using Jira for I think 8 years now. Once you understand how exactly it works and the power that it has, the capabilities basically in terms of how you can customize it and make it for your use. So there is a lot of automation available within Jira. So that is why it is so popular, and I might come up with that automation course very soon, because I think automation course will be really helpful. The Jira automation is so helpful that it reduces your manual effort within Jira a lot, the managing of the tasks and all of that. So that is why it is very popular. Okay, so Ashutosh Nayak sir, is this process is same in every company? So Ashutosh, yes, almost I would say 80% this process is not going to change, right? I mean, Scrum process is not going to change at all right? So this is the process, this is Scrum process, and if a company is following Scrum properly, this is not going to change. All right. But then how things are managed within Jira might change a little bit. Maybe they don't follow this epic as the highest level of work item. They might be having the feature. Okay. So that might be different, but the overall process, even within Jira, whatever I have shown is actually that's how it's managed. I mean, I haven't seen this process being changed much anywhere. There is little modification around. Maybe they'll be having a different naming convention for the issue types and things like that. They would have created custom issue types, but eventually it's all same. It's just a very minor sort of difference there. uh, can you share your email address with us? Yes, I will. I'm just pinging it now. So that's the email address I have pinged in the chat. How to, okay, the next question is from Akshay. How to use test cases written in Excel sheet in Jira. Okay. So Akshay, I have created a course on Zephyr for Jira, which is available on my YouTube channel as well. So if you have the test cases within Excel sheet, whether you are using Zephyr or X-Ray, these are test management plugins within Jira, so which will enable your Jira to have the test management capability as well. So you can easily upload your Excel sheet of test cases into Jira, and that will have all the test cases, right? So there will be a separate session, guys, for completely focused on the test management within Jira. So that will help you to understand that today we have understood about the Scrum process and how it's all managed, but then eventually in few days, I think most probably next week, I'll be having another session for test management within Jira. So we'll either take X-ray, because I have already created the Zephyr course, so I most probably will come with the X-ray plugin and how to use X-ray within Jira for test management. So that will help you, so you can upload that easily. All right. Okay, how to write test case in Jira? Khushbu Bhamre. So yes, I mean, Khushbu, by default, the instance that we have used today, okay, this instance won't be having the capability to write test case by default. So you have to install a plugin, as I've said, the Zephyr or X-Ray, or there are so many other test management plugins, but these are the popular ones. So once you install those plugins, which I'll cover in next week, then you can write test cases and manage your test cases there. All right, Bhushan, how to raise bug? Yes, that will be part of the test management session, Bhushan. So stay tuned. Very soon you'll be understanding that as well. Ajinkya, what is Jenkins? So Ajinkya, Jenkins, if you want to understand, there is a complete playlist on Software Testing Mentor channel. All right, so I have posted the complete training there. But Jenkins is a CI tool. So go through that. I would recommend going through that, and then you will understand all the details about Jenkins. So how to raise defects in Jira, Omi. Again, yes, this will be part of the test management within Jira live session. So most probably next week. All right. Okay. Any more questions? Otherwise, we'll wrap up the session and we'll see you all very soon with the test management course within Jira. That will be again a live session. So I think this is very hot topic. So basically test case management in Jira. So yes, Mahesh, very soon, most probably next week, you'll understand all of that. There'll be a session, next session on that. So one more question. Yes, Bhushan, Ranjit Kumar, who is a Scrum Master and his role. So Ranjit, I have taken live two more live sessions last week. So go through those live sessions. I'll be posting this one in the playlist, so they are all there. So this whole Scrum process, what roles, Scrum Master, Product Owner, everything has been covered in that. So go through and watch it. It will be really helpful. I mean, these three live sessions are sort of a must watch. I mean, there is a lot more content to watch, but these are the practical things that you will do face to face, do day to day in your projects, right? So definitely go through and learn Scrum and Agile and Jira. and the next session that I'll be coming for the test management. Okay, so all right, I think that's pretty much it for today, guys. We are almost an hour, so it was pleasure to have all of you, and I hope this session was helpful. And I'll see you all in another test management within Jira tutorial, which is live session again sometime next week. So thank you all and have a great day.